All right, let's dive in. Today, we are talking about something that kind of flips the script on everything we're told about success. We're going to explore the quiet, almost invisible money power of being predictable. Yeah, I know, it sounds boring, but trust me, it might just be the secret engine behind almost all incredible wealth. And this quote just nails it, right? Our entire culture is built around celebrating the chaotic, the loud, the unpredictable. Our social media feeds are just a highlight reel of so-called overnight successes. But that's exactly why we need to talk about this. Because the most powerful moves, they're almost always made in silence. So yeah, that leads us to this big idea, the myth of noise. In a world that is completely obsessed with standing out and being different, we've been taught that we have to chase chaos. We've been wired to think the loudest person in the room is the one winning. But what if I told you there's a much quieter, more certain path to building real, lasting wealth? Just think about what grabs our attention. It's the viral moments, right? The big, disruptive ideas. The flashy lifestyles that are practically screaming, I made it. But that stuff is just the tip of the iceberg. The real foundation, the 90% of the work that actually creates that success, is built quietly below the surface with disciplined consistency. Okay, so this is where we get to the heart of it all, the predictability principle. And we're going to totally reframe this word. See, predictability isn't boring. It is a strategic weapon. It's the common thread, the fingerprint you'll find behind almost every great success story you can think of. So what are we actually talking about when we say predictability? Well, it's not about being a robot, not at all. It's about mastering three key things: making consistent decisions, building reliable habits, and having measured reactions. It's really about cutting down on decision fatigue. When your core actions are automatic, you free up all that precious mental energy for the big challenges, the ones that really move the needle. I love this metaphor. Think about your energy, your time, and your money as water. Chaos is like knocking over a full bucket. The water just spills everywhere, right? It loses all its force. But predictability, that channels all that water into a powerful river, building momentum, creating a focused force. That's where real power comes from. You know what? Let's make this crystal clear with a quick story. We're going to follow two different people on two very different paths over just 5 years. It's a simple little tale, but man, does it reveal everything about the power of being consistent. So on one side, you've got the unpredictable path. This person kind of lives on a whim, wakes up whenever, buys things impulsively, invests when they feel like it. On the other side, you have the predictable path. This person operates with systems. They wake up at the same time, they act with intention, and their savings, that's all automatic. Their life looks deliberate, systematic. Okay, now let's hit fast forward. After a couple of years, the differences are fine. You can barely see them. But by year 5, whoa. The gap is massive. One person is just stuck in a cycle of financial chaos, while the other is riding the incredible wave of compound growth. It just proves that tiny, consistent inputs create huge, exponential results over time. But how does this actually work? I mean, it's not some kind of financial wizardry. The real power of being predictable comes from something else it creates: trust. And trust is the single most valuable asset you can have in business and in life, period. I mean, just think about it. Our entire world runs on this idea. Who are you going to hire? The contractor who maybe shows up, or the one who's there every single day at 8 a.m. sharp? Businesses build empires on predictable partners. And the markets? They ultimately reward the steady, predictable investor, not the chaotic day trader. Consistency isn't just a personality trait. It's a currency that buys you opportunity. And this brings us to a tough pill to swallow for some, but it is so true. A person with a solid, repeatable system will almost always, over the long run, beat a more talented person who just wings it. Why? Because a system takes emotion out of the equation. It guarantees you'll do the work. Raw talent might give you a few flashes of brilliance, but a solid system delivers results day in and day out. Okay, now we're getting to my favorite part. This all leads to a really fascinating paradox. We're about to see how your most boring, everyday habits can become the source of what looks like extraordinary, almost unbelievable success. It's your silent superpower. So let's break down how this superpower actually works. It all starts when you focus on one thing: making your core habits, your savings, your work, your learning, as predictable and automatic as you possibly can. Now, as these habits stack on top of each other, day after day, week after week,
something amazing starts to happen. The results begin to accelerate. The growth becomes exponential. And this is where the final outcome starts to look shockingly, well, unpredictable.
Especially to everyone else looking in from the outside. See, they never saw the thousands of quiet, consistent actions. They only see the huge, dramatic end result. And that leads them to ask one very, very common question. This is what people always ask, right? Where did she come from? How on earth did he build that so fast? They see the success as some kind of sudden event because all the hard work was totally invisible to them. And the answer is always the same. It was never sudden. It was the result of 1,000, 10,000 tiny, boring, predictable decisions stacking up one on top of the other, compounding quietly and relentlessly behind the scenes. That's the real secret. So if you want to build that kind of real, lasting success, the takeaway here is actually pretty simple. Stop chasing the noise. Stop chasing viral fame. Instead, chase these 3 things. Chase the discipline to show up even when you don't feel like it. Chase the routine that puts your progress on autopilot. And chase the stability that gives your wealth a foundation to actually take root and grow. And this final quote just wraps it all up perfectly. In a world that is literally engineered to distract you, the simple act of being consistent becomes a radical advantage. It makes you reliable, it makes you trustworthy, and in the end, it makes you unstoppable. So, we'll leave you with this to think about. In this world that is constantly pulling at your attention, constantly screaming for you to look over here, what could you actually build if you channeled all that energy, not into being loud, but just into being consistent? What could that quiet power create for you?